Really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
And we are live. Welcome, you filthy freaking degenerates to another Sunday evening episode of the DGen Roundtable. I will be your host for this evening, your great value technical analyst, Jay, joined as always by my panel of very lovely and handsome co-hosts. Bean, we haven't seen you in a while, brother. I know you've been busy, burning the midnight oil. How have you been? Glad to have you back. Update the group and update the chat, man. How you been? What you been up to?
I'm good, man. Miss everybody. Just been crazy. This weekend I was at a retreat, so I was kind of turned off for the weekend. I wasn't in any chats, and it's kind of weird to be just disconnected for days when you're just used to be kind of plugged in 24/7. You know, it's like I get out, I'm like, oh, what's going up in the market? Exactly the same place as I left it. East over 3,000, Bitcoin 51.5. I didn't miss anything. But yeah, so no, things are getting good, man. Work's been crazy. Got engaged a little while ago, so still trying to work on slowly planning a wedding. Really haven't done anything yet, but excited about that. And honestly, just excited to get back to the stream, get back to joining my boys, and get back to sharing value information to our family. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. Well, I think I can speak for the rest of us and the chat and the gang that we're glad to see you back and ready to go, because my goodness, there has been a lot of juicy news going on over the past few weeks. Very entertaining month for crypto, that's for certain. So glad to have you back on board, brother. Z, how you been, man?
Doing well. Jay, we missed you on book club on Friday, but glad to be streaming with you again on this lovely Sunday. Doing pretty well over here. Hope you guys are also doing well wherever you're watching.
How about Will, Senor? How you doing, my friend?
I am doing moderately okay. My voice is a little bit gone. I'm not sure what happened, but I was driving around over the weekend and my voice disappeared. So I don't know. I am about to switch from my phone onto my computer. So if I disappear for a minute, I'll be right back. But I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, bro.
It's called chlamydia.
It's from that what do you call it? Alan has a pretty entertaining comment here for Will. He says the T-share payout was so fat that Will tried to date it.
The what? T-shire payout?
That's probably where he got the chlamydia, Alan.
Oh my god. Getting all sorts of fun payment things going on. But yeah, I'm doing great, guys. I've been traveling around a lot. I went and visited my sister. Fucking crane fly just hit me in the face. I've been traveling around Texas. I met with my sister. I hung out with my mother. Been going up, down, left, right, all around, everywhere. So it's just been a great time. So it's been a fantastic weekend for me. Nate, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. You know, just continuing the grind, kind of the same old for me. However, the nice thing is that we're so far ahead at my
my work that we're gonna have 2 days of just training days, which for me, since I'm master licensed and everything, is like just going over what I already know. But it basically means I just get to go to the office, clock in, and just kind of sit around and not do too much. So it's enjoyable sometimes. It is.
Good to hear it, man. Let's go ahead and say hi to the chat. Our first member right here with the very first comment, Mr. Brown, Farmer J. Glad to see you here, buddy. Hexagon Lost in Asia. Seems like he's really digging that intro. I am too, man. You guys don't see it in the background, but I'm always dancing to that intro.
He has to put his shirt back on after the cameras come back up, but yeah.
I call it the DJing club.
Hell yeah, man.
It's great though.
Alan, good to see you here, buddy. And we also have Mr. Angry Twinkie. Hey, if you guys haven't caught the stream from yesterday, Mr. Angry Twinkie had both me and a Crypto Boogie on to talk about a lot of dope shit. So go ahead and check out his stream. Glad to see you here, brother. And then let's see who else. Hex Glenn, hello. Hello to you, sir. And then let's see if we have anybody else. Oh, Mr. Daddy Hexler. Wagwan, my good folks. Love your show, guys.
Wagwan, mate. Wagwan.
Oh, man. Glad to have you here, Daddy Hexler. Glad that you're enjoying the show. So we have quite a bit of news to go over during today's show. I mean, when is there nothing to go over in terms of news of crypto, right? But there's a few things that I want to bring to your attention first before we go over any of the serious stuff, right? We always like to start here with a little bit of entertainment. So I'm gonna show you some of the very, very choice memes from Instagram that I have been collecting over the past weeks. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I was gonna say I couldn't hear you there for a second. We do it live, ladies and gentlemen. We do it live.
Oh,
there we go. Oh, I love this video.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Here's the first one.
Again. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Again.
So,
isn't that a perfect representation of people?
That is so perfect. Oh my god, that is so true too. They're like, wow, I got 20% increase, woohoo! And then it's like us, we're like, that's boring. If it's, I don't get out of bed for 2x.
Yep. Crying over their 1% loss here at crypto, bottom of the bear market. Everything's down 75 to 95%, and we're just chilling, buying more.
Yep. Give you
Here's the next
tips.
Indeed.
Tips.
This one.
Staying alive, staying alive.
Guys.
Staying alive, staying alive.
I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the news with Luna, but it seems like some crazy person out there is trying to revive the company. And this is a perfect perfect representation of it, right? You got the devs, you got the community trying to revive it. And then you just got the investors who are down 99% 3 times. Like Richard Hart said, Luna went down 99% 3 times in total, guys. So even if somebody were to revive it, don't touch it.
I think we covered this a few weeks ago. There was like one random week where it was like the FTX and the Luna coins just randomly went up like 20%. And everyone just gave it like a side eye, like, what's going on there?
Yep, exactly. Don't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole unless you are a degenerate trader that's going to be in and out very quickly. And this next meme I really like because it's a representation of the crypto community as a whole. There's those of us who are buying at the bottom, those of us who started buying at 25, and those of us who started buying at around 40K.
هلا رمانة هلا رمانة الحلوة زعلانة حلوة زعلانة مين راضيها أنا راضيها مين راضيها هلا أنا راضيها هلا حلوة زعلانة الحلوة زعلانة.
Oh,
that's
man.
pretty good.
Jay, you're only missing the people.
Representation of the freaking bull market. I love it.
Yeah, you're missing one thing though. All the people that still got money on the sidelines, sitting, thinking we're going down when they should have bought months ago.
Bro, that's what I'm saying, man. What do you guys think? At what price point is Capo going to get in? And he's gonna get in on this dance. You think it's gonna be a 55,000? And he's finally gonna start smiling like the last guy here bought at 38K?
Who knows, man?
What a silly goose.
I can't believe people have been sitting on the sidelines this long. It's insane to me.
Exactly.
But you know, in a sense, though, it's kind of good long term because we've kind of had a pretty darn good pump, obviously on Bitcoin, and we'll start to see a bit more on Ethereum, and we'll talk about more of that today. But with so much money on the sidelines and how much we've gone up already, I mean, honestly, to me, it looks bullish.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, there's still a whole bunch of people in the market with still capital to get in, and so we're just waiting on them. We're just waiting on them to join the party, man. Eventually, you're gonna have to jump on. So before the train goes supersonic on you. And then, last but not least, you know, here at the DGen Roundtable, we are inclusive. So we like to shout out the like we did last show. We like to shout out the lady boys out there. Here's
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Oh my goodness. I love that last one.
These are
I love
memes,
this
all right.
last one because
this is
it's
good.
It's all of the different it's all of our favorite cryptocurrencies, man. Hopping on the bus on the way to the bull market, man. If you miss that bus, like I said, you better get on quick because that thing's gonna go supersonic, leave you behind. So that's it for the memes. We're gonna go over. So there's a few things that I wanted to share with you guys before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show. And the first little case study that I wanted to share with you folks here, it couldn't have come at the more perfect time. If you guys, so Will and Nate will remember this, but one of the first things that we went over last Sunday's episode was Gary Gensler on Squawk Box talking about how it's silly that you would think people would buy an asset, in this case Bitcoin, because of how the books are kept, right? So he was downplaying one of the main value propositions of cryptocurrency. For those of you that don't remember, here is the clip. It's a short, like 10-second clip. I'm just going to share it really quickly, just to give the folks a little bit of a refresher who didn't see it.
We got to share screen though first, Jay.
Oh, gotcha.
There you go.
Okay, gotcha. There we go.
All right.
Sorry about that. There's a little bit of lag on my end. It said shared
Airbnb.
on my side. Yeah. Give me a second here. Let me bring that back. Here we go.
And now, how many times do you have people on this show that say, I want to invest in something because how the books and records are kept? I mean, Joe, really? It's just an accounting ledger, a clever.
It's a ledger that everyone has, and can't be.
So yeah, there he is on Squawk Box. Like I said, downplaying the value proposition of crypto. Well, Gary, let me tell you something right now. This article that I found, I think I found it the day after we did our Sunday show. And this specific article, let me know if you guys can see this one. This one is from the Daily Huddle. Can you see this one?
Just lost your screen.
Oh, give me a second. So that's a shame. So usually when I tab over to different screens, it allows me to share and move over to that screen. I guess I have to manually share each one individually. So this particular one on the Daily Huddle, right? This one really hit home with me because I found it right after the episode on Sunday. And so this article says, right, JP Morgan Chase loses $100,000 worth of customers' cash and jewelry, denies responsibility. So I told this story to Will when I found it, right? And what basically happened was a customer came into her local Chase branch and asked to see her safety deposit box. However, the employees that worked with her said that they do not have her box. And when she tried to open the specific locker assigned to her box, right, it would not fit. And so she takes JP Morgan, that branch in particular, to court, and she loses. And here's where the value proposition of blockchain technology comes into play. right? This is a quote from the victim. She says, "I knew in my heart I was right, and no matter what I said, they didn't believe me. They were adamant about their records, and I was adamant that they were wrong. However, when you're working against a huge corporation like that, and I don't have access to the documents that might lead to them realizing that what I'm saying is true, it was, once again, devastating." All right. So lo and behold, a few months later, she's on the TV. She thinks all of her property is lost. And on an auction show, she sees her jewelry being auctioned at the local auction house. Right. Luckily, she had the receipts to prove that it was her property, and she got it back. Now, when they went back to go over the details of the case, what they found was that specific branch, or whoever they were working with, actually lied about her property. They didn't lose it. They just mislabeled it as abandoned. And so guess what? Because she didn't have access to those records, she couldn't prove anything. Guess what? When it comes to blockchain and crypto, you don't need that. Why? Because every single record on the blockchain is transparent. If her property or the information to her property was stored on the blockchain, then anybody and everybody and anybody can go there and audit it and see what is going on, right? And so this article really hit home with me because it really elucidated the value proposition of crypto. And it's funny because JP Morgan, if you remember a few weeks ago, they are trying to create, well, actually, they're not trying to create, they already have their own private blockchain. And so you can only imagine something like this happening once again if JP Morgan were to transition fully into a private blockchain, right? Your customers are not going to have the legal recourse to go over your database, right, and audit your transactions the same way that anybody who's exploring the blockchain can. What do you guys think about this particular article, man, and the value proposition of crypto in general?
I mean, I don't think we need to sell it to our audience. I mean, I think that's why we're all here. You know, it's interesting. Like I told you, I was on a retreat this weekend, and I don't really always just say like I'm in crypto, right? But every once in a while it comes up that you know, I stream and kind of in the market, and people are like, you know, why are you interested in crypto? And I talked to them about, you know, the immutability of decentralized finance. You know, the ability to see everything live on a blockchain, and no one has access, you know, to changing this code. Nobody has access to my keys. Nobody has access to my accounts, right? I own what I have, and it's on an open ledger for all to see. I mean, I think that a lot of people can understand the value of that. And even people that aren't in crypto were like, okay, wow, that makes sense, especially with things that are happening in the world, you know, especially people that are kind of on the red pill side of things, even if they're not into crypto. I think that is a big value proposition from it. In articles like this, only further that.
Yep. Z?
When it comes to the idea of trading freedom for safety, it's one of those things where you can look at a situation like this and you thought you were trading for safety, but you were trading for nothing. Granted, this is a little bit of a clerical error. However, if it comes out that they did they intentionally held or hid this kind of information for the trial, then that is going to be a massive, massive issue, legally speaking, not just for them, but also for the legal team that handled it. So this is a situation where because there was a mess up and you tried to cover up the mess up, it's going to make it even worse. You can just avoid all of that by dealing transparently on a blockchain or something, or honestly just having more transparent actions within your own company. Like if people ask for records regarding their stuff, just give them the records. It's not difficult. Like, yeah, sure. At that point, then the responsibility goes back to that person, which is like, if you're handling personally identifiable information or something sensitive, then yeah, it's back on the customer to handle it properly. But it's that balance. It's that trade-off. It's, do you want the ability to transact whenever, wherever, however, or do you want a little bit of a safety net? And understand that these might not always be one-for-one trades. So that's it. I am bummed, though, that I missed out last week when we had the opportunity to have the All-Star Dunk Contest on Gary Gensler and that terrible clip. That is a full minute of him just straight up not getting it. Because in that clip, if I remember correctly, he calls Bitcoin not decentralized because he's like, well, you just get enough people that hold it, or like you have to go through an exchange and now it's centralized. It's like, I wonder how you could make that happen. It's almost like the force of a government. And then also, like, is the ledger a selling point? Yes. Yes, it is. We've been saying this for so long.
Transparency, immutability, fully audit, like anybody can audit it. So if you saw that, as you remember, I presented the case study or a thought experiment to the gang. I was like, go out there to your local branch and ask them if they can, if you, the customer, can audit their records. And good luck trying to get through to them.
Jay, I'll give credit to the host of that show. He was looking at Gary Gensler like, what are you
like
doing?
a dummy?
He literally was trying to allow him to back away from what he was saying and say something that actually made sense. And here GG is just doubling down. This guy's like, are you serious?
Yep. Yep. Bro, what a silly goose, man. Z took the words right out of my mouth. That like this whole thing is just, it's just a fucking, like, referring back to the company that fucks it up. It's like when you try and cover up mistakes, it just makes you look even stupider and stupider. And so the blockchain is just, it's so much better a tool for keeping all this stuff.
Yep. Yeah, because like Z alluded to earlier, you can't lie and you can't cover shit up on a transparent ledger. Nate, you have any thoughts on this, brother?
Oh, this is the type of thing that pisses me off, man. Because I don't care if it's like a mistake of some kind. The fact that they're like, oh, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. Okay, this right here is a prime reason for why the government is so freaking scared of crypto right now. Because think about this, okay? They happen to get caught here, and it was literally just lucky circumstance that they ended up getting caught, right?
Yep.
Okay, this is the reason. Yeah. And this is the reason
customer just
why-
happened to be watching and saw her property flash across the screen. Otherwise, they would have gotten away with it.
Yeah, 100%. And see, here's the stupid thing, right? So we already know that the government does a lot of this like backdoor shady crap, right? But as soon as they put everything that they're doing on that ledger thing, you know, the thing that Gary says nobody's going to buy because we can see everything. We can see everything the government's doing, and you bet your ass that there's going to be people watching all the wallets from the government and everything, you know, transacting back and forth with certain stuff. And that's the reason why they also hate Tornado Cash, which we're going to be getting into, because that kind of makes the trail disappear all of a sudden, right? It's kind of like poof, it went in here, now it's gone.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it's that. This is the kind of thing that really freaking pisses me off, and this is the reason why I am in crypto, is because screw you guys.
Absolutely. On that note, let's go ahead and say hi. I see a few more people rolling into the chat here. Paul Sachs, hey, glad to have you here, brother. And it was a pleasure finally getting to meet you live on our Whiskey Wednesday show. Mr. Crypto Sloth, yo, what is up, my friend? Good to see you here. And then Antoine, this guy, bro, always flexing on us. He says, good to see you, Brendan, back in the action. Much love to the boys. Antoine, as always, thank you for the very generous donation. It will go to our funds for cocaine and hookers. So,
in Miami.
I'll say this. The reason that we can put the money towards cocaine and hookers is because Antoine already paid the bills for this year and the next one.
He did. Exactly. Yes, he did.
What a legend. We appreciate it a lot, brother. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So this next clip that I wanted to show you guys, obviously, crypto is going to be a very, very big talking point in the upcoming presidential election. And we know that Donald Trump, he certainly likes Ethereum because he's launched a few NFT projects on Ethereum. And Melania actually also launched her own NFT project on Ethereum. So it's nice to see him make the rounds talking about Bitcoin. This little clip right here, we alluded to this clip on my stream with Boogie and Twinkie yesterday. Here it is. I want to show you guys. This was him making the rounds. I think he was in Senator Tim Scott's state, and here's Donald Trump with a few comments on Bitcoin. Take a look.
Just see you, Jay.
I was gonna say it. I'll say it. Oh, here we go.
The government can't get its hands on it. What about Bitcoin with all the young people, including African Americans, who are very interested in it?
Well, a lot of people are doing it. I always liked one currency. I call it a currency. I like the dollar, but a lot of people are doing it. And frankly, it's taken a life of its own. You probably have to do some regulation, as you know, but many people are embracing it. And more I'm seeing people wanting to pay Bitcoin. And you're seeing something that's interesting. So I can live with it one way or the other. I've always liked one really powerful thing, and that's called the dollar.
The first thing that I wanted to point out in that interview, first, for some reason, because Donald Trump was here with Senator Tim Scott. It was funny that the interviewer had to point out, yeah, a lot of people are trying to get into Bitcoin, including the African Americans. Like she was somehow going to leave them out, and she had to mention it just because Senator Tim Scott was there. I thought that was pretty freaking hilarious, bro. But yeah, so this is like, Donald Trump, obviously he's always going to want to play for America, right? And obviously he's always going to want to champion the US dollar. He's been pretty adamant about that when he spoke about Bitcoin in the past. He's like, nope, I like the US dollar. But at least, in this interview, for example, it seems like he's opening it up slowly but surely to the idea of adopting Bitcoin and crypto more openly here in the United States. And I think, the theory is it's probably because two of the VP candidates that he's been working with, number one is Boots guy, Bean, your senator, your guy, your mate. I forgot his name.
My senator or my governor?
Sorry, governor. Yes, governor. DeSantis, right?
Mr. Ronald Big
Yes.
DeSantis. I did.
But yeah,
I can't call him that anymore because he's fallen flat on his face a little bit in presidential run. Man was swinging a big one for a while down here in Florida, and he's kind of shut it under the pressure a little bit. So I got to take his nickname back for a little bit.
Yeah. But hey, it seems like Donald Trump is playing around with the idea of making him the VP, and the other candidate, I think the one that we like better, is Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy. So I think Donald Trump opening up a little bit more to Bitcoin and crypto as a whole might have something to do with the narrative that those two have been trying to spin during their own campaigning efforts over the past few months, right? Because those two, especially Ramaswamy, very open and very hyped about blockchain technology. So what did you guys think about that clip? What did you think about Donald Trump starting to open up, it seems like, to Bitcoin and crypto as a whole?
First off, I don't know who thought it was a good idea to do that crowd shot that they had, but there were 3 people in that camera and their collective age somehow looks over 1,000. My God. As far as Donald Trump's relationship with the dollar goes, I would say that Donald Trump definitely falls into camp right next to Robert Kiyosaki, our rich dad, talking about how to properly leverage debt. And I think that one of the things he absolutely understands is that there are positive ways to leverage debt and inflation, or the devaluation of money in the future, to your benefit now. Donald Trump is a property real estate mogul, so he definitely understands this concept very, very well. At the same time, though, we saw the Trump NFT collection, and like you guys talked about, we have the Melania NFT collection. I am unfamiliar with that one, but I'll have to go look it up. And I think that this is it's a sign of going in the right direction. However, at the end of the day, my personal opinion is that Donald Trump still is very much in line with kind of like the boomerish crowd, where he's still very focused on the ideas that reside within the Americans ages 55 and up, which is looking at Social Security, retirement, and that kind of thing. To not really touch or reform that stuff too much, but to make that system keep functioning into the future. As far as, is Donald Trump going to be the person to champion Bitcoin? I don't see it happening. He can say some good things. He's definitely not going to hurt it, I don't think. But at the same time, I don't see us having the US BTC anytime in the future.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think I'm kind of the belief that getting Donald Trump in is going to help Bitcoin just simply because of him helping out the economy better. But I mean, you heard it in that interview right there. He is, dollar first and very dollar centric. So the way that it seems like he's looking at it is almost like, you got the dollar, which is the most important thing, but then you've got this Bitcoin thing that's like a brand new type of asset, you know, and hey, if you want to go do that, you can do that, right? I think that's the way he's kind of looking at it. And obviously, yeah, he does have DeSantis and Ramaswamy in his ear, obviously, about how important it is. But yeah, I think it's kind of like just it's not going to hurt it, but at the same, I think it'll help a little bit having him in office. But that just has to do with the economy in general, I would say.
Yeah.
Just to double tap this real quick, Donald Trump is not going to be the Bitcoin guy. However, he is a dollar guy, but he's a different dollar guy than I think one of the bad ways that we've seen in the 21st century, which is he's not a Fed try to print money as much as possible. Unfortunately, there was an astronomical amount of money printing that did happen under Donald Trump. However, arguably those are extenuating circumstances, namely around all the corona stuff. So there was that. But at the same time, Donald Trump is the kind of person that looks at the dollar as an aspirational thing, as in he wants to make the dollar valuable again. I could absolutely see that coming out of his mouth. And I think that he does understand American exceptionalism, and he believes that having the currency worth something is part of that.
Yep. I 100% completely agree. And I think that's the reason why, even though there was a significant amount of money printing that went on during his presidential run, like you mentioned, Z, there were some extreme extenuating circumstances why that had to happen, right? I think without Android 19, it would have been significantly less so, right? Because Donald Trump, before he was a politician, before he became president of the United States, this guy made a living of being an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, you know the importance of keeping a budget, right? And like keeping your accounting accurate. And so I think that, you know, without the contagion being present, I think that certainly would not have happened under his presidency, right? I think he would have treated the dollar like Z said, right? He wants to make it valuable again instead of this debased currency of its former self, right? Will, did you have any thoughts on Mr. DT here and his seemingly starting to open up to Bitcoin and crypto?
No, I mean, I thought it was amusing, and you know, we'll see what happens. Like words are just that until they're more. So like, I'm curious to see what sort of action Trump would take. But you know, he has to be president before we can do anything. So up until that point, it's lip service is the long and short of my opinion on this matter. So
gotcha.
I think Jay, I got something quick. I think that it would be really nice if we could have some candidates that are less than 85 years old for presidency. I really would like someone that actually has, you know, the future in mind, that's going to live longer than, you know, say 10 or 15 years, are going to remember what they said yesterday and what our current date is and what they're the president of what nation. Honestly, I think that, yeah, it's positive that Trump is warming up to Bitcoin, so to speak. But I think that is just that it's being warmed up by everybody. You know, now that Bitcoin has a spot ETF, Ethereum potentially a spot ETF coming up, institutions are getting interviewed by multiple economic, you know, sites and forums and shows on TV in regards to Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptocurrency markets. So we're just starting to see it become a little bit more mainstream, and people like Donald Trump just can't deny that we probably need to have some regulation that makes sense. And something that still, you know, helps the United States and helps the dollar. But I don't think he's going to do anything out of this world for Bitcoin or crypto. I think we need someone that's a little bit more cutting edge, a little bit younger, and a little bit more with a little bit more foresight. So, I mean, that's generally what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and it seems like me and Z, obviously, you know, from his comment there, agree with you. I think we certainly do need people who are a little bit younger. That's why I think if Ramaswamy's aspirational his aspirations as president don't die out within the next few years, I think he's certainly going to be a very good candidate to take up the mantle, especially if DT picks him as his vice president, right? That kind of boosts him in the rankings as the potential next president of the United States. And I think he'd be the perfect candidate. Why? Because he's like Donald Trump in a sense that he's a lifelong entrepreneur. So he's going to treat the country like a business, like he wants it to succeed, right? Because he's of the entrepreneurial mindset. You know, he's got Donald Trump's charisma, but he's able to communicate in a way that Trump is not sometimes, right? Ben Shapiro referred to Donald Trump as a blunt force instrument. Sometimes Donald Trump speaks and he hits a hammer, he hits a nail, but sometimes he speaks and he hits a baby, and it's not so fun, right? Ramaswamy is he's a little bit more adept at the English language, and so I think he can go toe to toe and be sarcastic and be charismatic in the way that Donald Trump usually is when he's up on stage, right? He knows how to play the crowd, and he's not afraid to take shots at people. But he's not going to be the blunt force instrument in the way that Trump is, right? He's going to be able to communicate that much better. And plus, like you guys mentioned, he's obviously he's got his fingers on the pulse of what, well, his generation and the younger generations want, right? In a way that a lot of these older politicians just don't have. So I completely agree with you guys there.
Real quick question. Should we create a Ramaswamy coin just in case he becomes president in like 5 years?
Bro, I guarantee you somebody already has, and that's probably already 10,000x. But if they haven't, we could do it.
Swami Emu.
What's the ticker for
that? Sorry, Nate.
Do you mind if I just say something real quick before I hand it over to you? Because I actually wanted to comment on your comment here, because yeah, you're completely correct. One of the issues that has happened and is well known to have happened in the political sphere is that millennials kind of gave up. So that's an entire generation and one of the largest generations, by the way, too, that just kind of gave up and doesn't care about doing anything political wise. And if you actually look at the statistics, there are more Gen Zers in politics right now than freaking millennials.
Yeah,
that's wild to think about.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. Different generation, different morals, different ethics, and I think a lot of the very young people nowadays, they don't have a vested interest in politics anymore. I think the guys like Charlie Kirk, who founded Turning Point USA, I think he's a very rare exception to the rule, right? He like got into politics at like his early teens, and he made a business out of political commentary from that young of age. I think he's an exception, and he's not the rule anymore. So yeah, I agree with you there, Nate, for sure. Let's go ahead and say hi to everybody else rolling in the chat. Looks like we got a few cool comments here. Paul Sachs, those DeSantis boots are really something. And then Bradley, good to see you here, brother. What is this narrative you speak of? I was watching the news. Be careful, Bradley. The news likes to give you narratives that aren't necessarily for your benefit. Let's see who else is in the chat right here. Let's see. Bradley again. Age equals wisdom. End of the argument. Shut up. I think people like Ramaswamy and DeSantis to a significant degree, I think, are proving that wrong, right? That age doesn't necessarily mean your young age doesn't necessarily mean there is absence of wisdom there, because there's certainly a lot of wisdom in those two for sure. With that being said, let's go ahead and transition to the very first, well, not really article, but this is a video that our very own Mr. Bean wanted to share with us. This is the CEO of Grayscale, Mr. I love his name, Sunshine. It's actually Sun and Shine or something like that, right? But I like to say Sunshine. Here's him appearing on Squawk Box talking about the potential for the Ethereum ETF. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
On the SEC to approve Grayscale's application to launch a spot Ethereum ETF in a letter to the SEC, Coinbase chief lawyer saying, quote, Ether's proof of stake has demonstrably strong governance that exhibits robust characteristics across ownership concentration, consensus, liquidity, and governance, mitigating risks of fraud and manipulation. Joining us right now is Grayscale CEO Michael Sunshine. It's not that often when one of your competitors says, hey,
look at his smile.
Go help these folks.
Well, we do have an application on file. Grayscale sponsors ticker ETHG,
right.
Grayscale Ethereum Trust, largest Ethereum fund in the world. An spot Ethereum ETF is a matter of when, not a matter of if. And
you say that because with such confidence.
I say that with confidence because my team has been doing the tough work to move this industry forward, work constructively with regulators, focus on, you know, disclosure, investor protections, and that's been true for Bitcoin. Proud of the work we did with GBTC, and now.
Do you think? Look, it took a lawsuit to get Gary Gensler to back down on this, right? I mean, and we just had Gary here recently, and you saw that interview. I'd love to get your reaction to it, but clearly, you know, left to his own devices, this is not the outcome that he would have preferred. I think that's at least in between the lines. That's what I think he has said.
Well, he actually wrote a pretty strong dissenting letter around this and really focused on the Grayscale lawsuit the day that the approvals for spot Bitcoin ETFs came out.
And so, which then begs the question, on the Ethereum front, if that is to move forward in a meaningful way, does that require another suit?
It's too early to say. It's too early to say. I think we have a similar dynamic in the market where the SEC has allowed for and approved Ethereum futures ETFs to come to market. The data suggests in a very similar way to Bitcoin that spot Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures have an inextricable tie. The markets have a 99.9% correlation. Same is true around Ethereum. And so we do have a very similar dynamic here.
So, panel. I actually like the question that the interviewer, I have to get that guy's name since we see a lot of content from him. Do you guys think that the SEC approving the spot Ethereum ETFs is going to require another lawsuit from Grayscale? I have my own thoughts on this, but before I start to ramble, I want to open it up to the panel. Bean, why don't we start with you since this is something that you shared with us? What do you think about this particular clip, about the potential for ETH ETFs? And if Grayscale is going to have to throw another lawsuit at Gary Gensler and the SEC in order to get it approved.
Yeah, I see three main points that they talk about in this video. The first is that he says a spot ETF is a matter of if, not when. I think we've all kind of felt that way. Our buddies at BlackRock have filed an ETH ETF, and we know that they don't get turned down by the government very often, and therefore we're looking very strong into getting an ETH spot ETF here in the near future. So that's the first thing, and I couldn't agree. Now, does it happen in May, or does Gary Gensler, you know, give him the middle fingers again and essentially say, we don't care if what we're doing is wrong. We don't care if what we're doing is within our umbrella of how we're supposed to be, you know, working the markets in securities. And then third, it's like, okay, well, are you going to need to take them to court again? And to me, it seems preposterous for the SEC to say no just to get taken to court again, just to get another loss. But it seems like that's all Gary Gensler wants, to take someone to court and lose, or to get taken to court and to lose. It's just like he keeps trying to push things out as far as possible so that he doesn't lose, so he loses as little control as possible. So he's losing control little by little, but they're literally having to tear it from the clutches of his dead hands, right? Like that's pretty much the way that I see it. And then third, he says something very interesting, and this is why I have been saying for a while that I think that ETH spot ETF is going to be approved. And the reason why the lawsuit went in Grayscale's favor, right, is because they were saying, look, Bitcoin future ETF and how it works and how it is held, there's really no difference from the spot Bitcoin ETF, and they're correlated to a 99.9%, you know, and so that's incredible for them to say. And then he makes a point, Mr. Sunshine, as you call him, Sun and Shine. He says ETH has the exact same. So the future ETFs for ETH have the same correlation as what would be the spot ETF. So the SEC in that case, just as the judge said in the Bitcoin case, has no reason to deny Ethereum and deny Grayscale and BlackRock and the other people that have applied for these spot ETFs. The SEC has no reason to deny them. So if they do deny them, then yes, they're going to take them to court. Do I think it could go that direction? Unfortunately, I do, because I think Gary Gensler, again, is just doing whatever he can to delay as long as he possible, and he's not letting anything go. You literally have to tear it from the clutches of his dead hands, and hopefully those dead hands are out of the SEC sooner rather than later.
Good points. Good points. Personally, I think you're correct about the delaying, right? However, I think, and to actually answer Brown down here, the farmer, yeah, so that right there is exactly why they're delaying it. It's the same game that has already played out with Bitcoin. Okay, you can literally like look in the past with what happened with Bitcoin. First, the future Bitcoins come out, and then here's a bunch of talk about filing for a spot, right? And then delay. Price continues to go up. It's been approved, massive drop, right? You know it's manipulated too, because there was the day before it was actually approved, there was a false approval, right? False announcement. It dropped and then quickly bought back up again. You could watch that on the chart, dude. Okay, and so they know it works. They know it works. So they're doing the exact same thing with ETH now. They've already got the futures out. Okay. And now they're delaying things, right? The price of ETH now all of a sudden randomly is going up and up and up. If you look at the chart, you can see it, right? So like what's the game? I don't think, I mean, I know it's fun to speculate and like look at all this, but it's so obvious at this point what's going on, right? And here's a little bit of bullish news for you guys. When ETH goes up, that's when altcoins go up. So what do you think is going to happen? We're going to have I think we're going to have a major crash later on, because the accumulation of ETH is going to go up until we hit that news. But I also think the Fed is going to be pivoting right around that time, and that's when that historic crash happens. So we're going to have a massive crash just for. And if you look at the dominance chart for altcoins, excluding the top 10, right? We're at that point of like the first pump up, which is kind of what's happening right now. And then all of a sudden it crashes down until it goes parabolic, right? Absolutely wild. Yeah. What is happening? It's playing out so perfectly right now. It's like I don't need a crystal ball to see the future, because it's just working perfectly.
Yeah, the dominance chart that Nate referenced there, we actually shared on the Whiskey Wednesday stream, courtesy of Zenith. Z, did you have any thoughts on this particular clip at all, my friend, before I give mine?
I did. So, by the way, the full 6-minute clip is definitely worth watching. The CEO of Grayscale here actually goes on to make some very valid points. He talks about how their lawsuit was, here we go, quote, "The investment community took note of the Grayscale lawsuit and the victory." So the guy is clearly aware that what they did is not just purely for their company, but for the entire sphere at large. And then later on, he actually talks about how there's $40 trillion worth of advised money in the US. What I mean by that is there's $40 trillion worth of money that is under advisement of financial advisors and not specifically under direct control of the consumers per se. As far as your question, though, of does it take another lawsuit by Grayscale to get this ETF approved? I think about this in 2 points. The first is I kind of go from this narrative of that it took humankind over 10,000 years to develop the power of flight, and then it took less than 70 years to go from there to the moon. So in my opinion, because we already have the existence of both futures Bitcoin and spot Bitcoin ETFs, it means that first hurdle has already been cleared. And then the second point that I'm referring to is that because of the way that the Grayscale court ruling came out in the past, if Gary Gensler wanted to try to get sued again by this, it would effectively be him becoming a martyr for whatever cause he's trying to be, because that would be him specifically and directly defying the explicit orders and instructions of the courts, which is in the past, the ruling came out and said, hey, there's futures ETFs. They operate exactly the same way. They have the exact same security controls. Why are you denying this similar claim based on these rules that you say it doesn't meet the standards, but this one already did meet the standards? It's the same thing for the Ethereum ETFs here. We already have futures Ethereum ETFs, which means that all things else being held equal, the spot ETFs should be on the way. Going against that, honestly, would be one of the single biggest things that Gary could do to get fired, specifically just for dereliction of duty and honestly acting against the interests of the American people and his I'm not going to say he's a fiduciary responsibility, but he has a responsibility as a public servant.
Absolutely fantastic points there. Will, how about you, my friend? Did you have any thoughts on this particular clip before I give my thoughts on it?
Not really, man. I mean, they covered it pretty well. That was about it. And my voice is still fucked, so y'all got it.
All right, man. So I personally think that there can be a lawsuit brought by the SEC. Brought by Grayscale against the SEC. However, in order for Gary Gensler not to embarrass himself again, he would now have to specify precisely why he doesn't think that the ETFs, in this case Ethereum's, should be pushed forward, right? Because the first ruling against them, they were labeled as arbitrary and capricious by the judge presiding over, in this one in particular, their case against Ripple, right? And when they had to circle back and actually define what it is specifically that makes these tokens or assets of security, if you remember, there was a few clips that we played a while back when the lawyers between the SEC and Coinbase were going back and forth with each other, and the judge was trying to nail down exactly the reasons why they believed these assets were to be a security, and the lawyers could not give a precise definition, right? And so if Gary Gensler wants to have a chance in court and once again not be labeled arbitrary and capricious and end himself in the same hot water like Z alluded to, right, when he was speaking, then he's going to have to be a little bit more specific with his claims. Otherwise, if he has learned his lesson and he knows that he doesn't have any ground to stand on, right, because like Z mentioned, he had the futures ETF for Ethereum. They function in the exact same one manner, like basically one-to-one as a spot ETF. There's absolutely no reason why you cannot bring this particular product into the market, right? And so I think there is a possibility that this goes to court, but seeing as we have some kind of legal precedence with the Bitcoin ETF, Grayscale, the SEC, the cases against Coinbase, the cases against Ripple, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Gary and the SEC to push this further back than the last deadline, which is around May. So I think the only thing they do moving forward is they delay and delay and delay up until the last approval date, and then they just push it through with no problem. That's my personal thoughts on it.
You know, Jay, if they were to deny it and then it goes to court, is Grayscale literally just going to play a video of Gary Gensler at MIT saying Ethereum's not a security? Like, how could this guy for his entire life say Ethereum in 2/3? By the way, he said 2/3 of all cryptocurrencies aren't securities, and now that he's the head of the SEC. And, you know, they have a lot of people in their pockets, banks and other people, U.S. government in general. Now he wants to say that they're securities. I mean, literally just string up that video and let it ride. Like, what are they going to say at that point?
Yep, absolutely. There's actually one more part in that clip that I wanted to share with the audience because this should get you guys really excited, because the interviewer asks a few more follow-up questions. And Mr. Sonnenschein actually gave us a little bit of insight into exactly what so there's the Bitcoin ETF, right? And Mr. Sonnenschein says, well, my customers are asking about other things. Here's the other things that his customers are asking about. You 1 second, let me play that video for you.
Been a major success.
But strategically for you, is your goal to get more inflows or frankly just to prevent outflows, given that you were the leader in this space to begin with?
Well, I think it's actually the question we're actually getting mostly from investors now is where else should they be investing, right? A lot of investors were able to benefit from being in Bitcoin as early as they were because we were in Bitcoin as early as we were. And so they're looking across the rest of the Grayscale product family at other assets, at other areas of the market, and where they can get involved in diversifying their crypto exposure.
Okay, so what does that look like then to you?
Well, so we're seeing investors actually taking note of Ethereum, right? Ticker ETHE, but Grayscale now has, well over a dozen products in the market, and we're seeing robust trading volumes there. Investors looking to deploy capital in other areas of the market. Some of them even taking a sector-based approach to their crypto investing.
How freaking bullish is that? So our customers have seen great success investing in the Bitcoin spot ETFs, and now they're asking, where else can we park our capital? One of the things, and he alluded to it later on in that clip, he said that some of the investors their customers, they're seeing that they're taking a sector-based approach to their investment within the crypto space. So now he didn't specify what particular sectors, right? But we have an idea. So now we know that after Bitcoin and after Ethereum, what else is there? Well, his investors might want to explore other L1s, L2s. Maybe it's GameFi. Maybe it's GambleFi, right? Maybe it's something that's just new and in an incubation period, right? Like the AI stuff, right? So this very last part of this particular clip really got me bullish because it's telling me that the people investing within this traditional financial space are now looking elsewhere, right? They're looking at what else is beyond the horizon besides just Bitcoin and Ethereum and in other sectors of the cryptocurrency space. Panel, any comments on that clip?
I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead, Zenith. Nope, I won't. All right, I will. Look, yeah, it's bullish. I think, like Zenith said, if you haven't watched this whole interview, go watch it. It's just so many nuggets and so much fire in there. But look at the smile that Sonnenschein has on his face as he's talking about this. You can see that they have this huge plan underneath the surface. It's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and it's like, oh well, if you're going to approve these, then all of these other ones must not be securities as well. So let's just file spot ETFs for boom, 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 right? Like, could they open the floodgates and just drop like another 10 or 12 coins that they want to create spot ETFs for? I don't know. I think that's pushing it a little bit. But I think that they have a plan to do that at some point in the future, right? To add more opportunities for their customers to invest in. He said that very clearly. And if Ethereum is not a security, then a fork of the Ethereum blockchain certainly couldn't be a security. So if you want to get into something early, Mr. Sonnenschein, why not just ask for a spot ETF of Pulse Chain, because that's a fork, that's an L1, and it's on its first cycle. You might be able to get a lot of X's for your customers. I don't know. Just saying, it's a possibility.
A Pulse Chain spot ETF would be absolutely wild. Like, the sheer volume coming into the ecosystem would just be astronomical. It's kind of unreal to think about.
Especially if you do it before the Richard Hart ecosystem, like SEC case is all over with. They just get the ball rolling and they approve that before they're even done, like spanking Richard Hart for being a bad boy with like alleged securities and all that crap. That would be hilarious.
Oh, that would, I mean, if there ever was a time to get in, yes, the time to get into Pulse Chain is while the SEC case is still going on. I know the SEC dip is not nearly what it used to be. However, at the same time, we're right around possibly like the top of where it started. So like, we're pretty much just back at the bottom of the original market. So all things considered, yeah, this is still not a bad time to get in. So in regards to the clip, though, the second part of the clip that we saw there, the original question that the guy asked our Sunny boy is, are you worried about the outflows from Grayscale? So this is something we've mentioned in the past, which is that Grayscale previously was head and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to actual Bitcoin assets under management. That is the actual number of Bitcoins and the value of the Bitcoins under their possession. Previously, at the peak of it, in January, one of the sources of information that I have said that they had $28 billion worth of Bitcoin under their control effectively. At the very lowest, it dropped all the way down to about 20 billion. So they lost 8 billion in the sell-off between the approval of the ETFs and the drop. That is notably like almost a 50% drop in your assets, or sorry, like a 33% drop in your assets under management. In traditional finance, that's definitely something to be worried about. However, since that time, we have seen them recover back up to about 22 billion. Again, even through all this, they are still head and shoulders above everybody else. BlackRock, based on some of the numbers that I've seen, is at the end of January, it alleged that they had $3.5 billion of Bitcoin under their investment. And now another figure I'm seeing is they have about 6 billion. So even at the current standards, BlackRock, which is supposed to be the juggernaut of investment, is still trailing behind Grayscale. So to see Grayscale actually talking about this and thinking about how do we not just like control outflows, but how do we continue to try to add value and offer value to the investors that are already here so they keep pouring in. This is one of the things that Grayscale, I think, they've been absolutely blessed with is that they were the first to the market by a large margin, and they've maintained that advantage to this point. And if they can continue to maintain it and leverage it into the future, they're absolutely going to be a juggernaut in this space. So it's good to see that the CEO is not just worried about outflows, but worried about continuing to add value through other things, like maybe that alleged pulse chain ETF would be nice.
Bro, it's just so funny because when the interviewer asked that question, it was like a low-key jab, like, bro, why are you selling Bitcoin, bro?
Pretty much, yeah.
Why'd you dump the market back down to 38,500, bro? Stop it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Jay, you bring up a good point, though. It's like some of these interviewers on CNBC and some of these other shows, they're really knowledgeable about the crypto space. And you don't expect it from guys that have literally been in TradFi, working for networks that won't allow them to talk about crypto for years. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I give them props for that.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's like the people they've been working for have just been like stonewalling them from like expressing their true opinions. You know, it's like like when they finally let the creative people go off the leash. It's like they've been like clawing at the dirt the whole time. Like, yes, I can finally get into it. So it's good to see more and more people speaking eloquently and speaking well on crypto.
Absolutely. Hey, let's go ahead and say hi to a few more folks in the chat because I see some new faces rolling in here. Our friends over at Go Fudge Yourself, welcome to the chat, guys. Glad to see you here. I don't know if it's Kiara or JD, or maybe it's both of them, but good to see you. Go do me a favor, go and subscribe to their channel. They are a Monday through Friday show. They go over daily news, weekly news, and they provide a lot of absolutely valuable content. So make sure to go ahead, do us a favor, and subscribe to that channel. We wouldn't be promoting them if they didn't provide significant value, and I certainly do every single time I go watch their show. So go out and subscribe to them. Let's see, Centurion, Mr. Centurion 54. Good evening. D-Gen's joining late. My apologies. Hey, brother, no need to apologize. Just glad that you're here joining us. And Tantam, of course. Tam, glad to have you as always, my dear. Okay, so, oh, wait. Before I forgot, I think Antoine sent us another super chat, right? Can we bring that up? King of Miami for president and the lone badass nomad ass VP equals America. I think Antoine accidentally fat fingered that super chat because it was supposed to be $99.99 and not $19.99, but it's okay, man. Like,
no, don't correct him. Stop it.
Oh my God. God, we fucking love you, Antoine.
We're just joking with you, Antoine. Oh, like no matter what it is, bro, it could be $1.99.99 or $99.99 or maybe $5.555. We don't care. We certainly appreciate whatever it is that you sent over, brother. Just having some fun with you here. All right, so moving on to the very next article. This one is another juicy one. This one was something that really got me super bullish because it seems like UK, they're known for being a little bit more stringent with their crypto policies, but it seems like from the looks of this particular article, which was shared to us once again by Mr. Anonymous Bean, it seems that they are starting to be a little bit more open, loosening up the reins around crypto. Let me go ahead and share with you this article, and we're going to talk about exactly why it has made me so bullish. Give me 1 second here. So this comes from Forecast. UK moves to classify cryptocurrencies as property. So the UK Law Commission has proposed a draft bill that would officially classify cryptocurrencies as a distinct category of personal property, providing greater legal certainty for digital assets. The bill, if passed, would enable stronger enforcement of property rights in crypto-related legal disputes. The proposal aims to accommodate the unique features of digital assets, such as crypto tokens and crypto assets, within the common law system of England and Wales by recognizing them as a third category of property. Now, that's all and good, right? But this right here is what got me super bullish. So, the Law Commission suggests that the courts may need assistance from an industry panel to navigate the technical complexities of emergent technologies and recommends a multidisciplinary team to help market participants protect their assets. Now, why is that particular paragraph got me so bullish? Well, like the prior clip that we just watched, it seems like, in this case, right, the Law Commission of the UK So they want some advice from a broad spectrum of panelists, so that if they do adopt more of this technology, right, that their customers are going to be able to navigate every single sector. And so this whole multidisciplinary approach, once again, alludes to the fact that maybe these guys are also looking to hire experts, not just when it comes to like maybe blockchain technology. Maybe they're going to hire experts on, hey, you know, our customers are interested in GameFi. Let's hire somebody from GameFi. Let's hire somebody from GambleFi. Let's hire somebody who knows a thing or two about other L1s, other L2s out there, right? And so if something like this were to come to pass, now you're seeing something like, like I said, the UK is a little bit more strict when it comes to crypto, right? But something like this opens up the door significantly for a broader spectrum of the world to come into the space, because now they're not just exploring Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now they're potentially exploring other sectors of crypto, which include some of the stuff that I mentioned earlier, like GameFi, like GambleFi, L2s, L1s, etc., AI, all that kind of stuff. Bean, since you were the one who shared this article, can you give us your thoughts on this particular piece here?
Yeah, it's interesting. The first thing I want to say is, when we say UK, right, we're talking essentially England and Wales in this article. So very different than the EU's approach to what we've seen over the last several months when it comes to crypto. The EU is essentially trying to make sure that all crypto protocols have a switch that someone can turn off, right? That someone can get in there and have control. So on one side, the EU wants control. On the other side, we have the UK now saying, hey, well, we're not the EU anymore, right? We left for a while. We left a while back, hashtag Brexit. And so we get to make our own rules now. And we see cryptocurrency as a huge growing sector. And we want those tech companies and we want those tech businesses to come to our countries, and we want them to build here. And so we want to create legislation that makes sense. We want to create legislation that is fair for the people investing, fair for the creators, that doesn't stifle innovation in creation, and allows for essentially, our UK to be a leader in this sector. And I think that is so bullish because of where the UK is positioned worldwide from a financial standpoint and from a global standpoint. And what you said, Jay, they realize that they don't know enough. Okay, United States, okay, lawmakers, listen to UK. They realize that they don't know enough to make the laws correct, to make the laws the right way to begin with. So they need a panel of industry experts, people that know the systems, know blockchain technology, know Web3, and they need like you said, Jay, no GameFi, no GambleFi, and whatever else it might be. They know all of these sectors, and therefore they can give their opinion on how this regulation needs to happen, how they can make it easier for their customers to learn to invest and be protected and hold their own assets, hopefully, right? But I think that it's ultra bullish, and it's ultra bullish because other countries are going to need to follow suit. Other large countries, right? Like UK and England isn't a small country. That's not El Salvador we're talking about, right? We're talking about a major superpower here. And if a major superpower is going to take this technology and put it in the forefront of their country, other countries are going to need to. And other countries are going to need to have similar regulations that are smart and don't stifle innovation, or those countries that stifle innovation are going to have a problem keeping up long term. So ultra bullish. And let's hope that they continue to move in this direction. And let's hope other countries, if this continues to happen, let's hope other countries see this and realize, okay, yeah, maybe we need to get industry experts involved so that we can properly regulate this industry that, by the way, we know nothing about.
Are you saying that they should hire the DJ Roundtable?
This guy, bro.
I'm ready with my hourly rates.
I am ready.
I'm up there.
You know what? I would have to be definitely billing at a very high rate.
No need. I just approve it all. Easy. Boom. One giant rubber stamp. Done. It's all
there's a comment in our chat here by our resident Farmer Brown. He says, my coins are already my property, not your keys, not your coins. So if there's one thing that I found particular about that article is that like Farmer Brown said, like aren't your cryptocurrencies in England, if you hold it, isn't that considered personal property? Right? Because like I certainly consider my crypto my personal property, right? And the fact that government is giving you the right to hold crypto and label it as personal property, that's concerning to me, because the right to own personal property is a natural right. It's a right that exists outside of government. It's a right granted to you by nature, and if you believe in God, it's a right granted to you by God. So that was a little bit concerning to me, like why they mentioned it, and like they presented it in a sense like, don't your citizens own your crypto, and don't they own that and treat that as personal property to begin with? So that was just a little bit strange to me. Go ahead.
I'd like to touch on this. And so and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, which I don't normally do with governments, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that like when they're talking about rights, what they might be referring to is the government does not have the there is no governmental privilege to get in the way of you owning this thing. That might be what they're saying. It might be like, the Bill of Rights. You have a right to firearms. You have a right to free speech. You have a right to no asset of forfeiture. So that's how I would interpret this thing. It's not like the government's granting you permission to own something, much like they do with your permission to drive by having a driver's license, or like your permission to whatever with your fishing license, which are that's all bullshit anyways. I hate all that crap. But like that's how I personally interpret this, and I could be totally wrong here, but that's the direction I see.
That's fair. You're extending them some grace, because the way I read that, I was like, what do you mean you're allowing them to treat it as personal property, bro? Like, fuck out of here.
Yeah, that just means that like the government has no there is no legal precedent to infringe on it. The government can seize your assets under X, Y, and Z. Yada yada. They can take your house. They can take your speech. They can take your whatever. It's all like, just pieces of paper floating around anyways. Like the only thing that matters is the ability for someone to enforce violence if they wish to. But like, some judge somewhere sitting in some court on some chair after you've sat in jail for 2 years will finally say, oh, hey, yeah, we did a bad thing. Boom. And you're free to go or whatever,
Yeah, looking back at marijuana laws. It seems like everybody wants to say something on this. Do you guys want to go first then? Okay. I could see, especially you, Bean. You're over there like, I have something to say. And I'm kind of in the same spot, I'm not gonna lie. So my whole thing with this is that when I was reading it, they did specify that they're basically needing to come up with new categories for all this, right? So it's gonna be a new category of personal possession, right? Or personal property. So this brought to me the question of, okay, if they're just going to create an all new category of personal possession with all new rules, that means that they can just make up whatever the hell they want. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Because I think this is a very, very, very slippery slope, what they're doing right now. And once we do have clarity, it is bullish. I get it. But when they can make up whatever rules they want, I don't know, man.
So to jump in here, and this is going to be a very pessimistic take, so to speak, but government is made up of people, and people build the systems that are being put into effect here. Government is absolutely no exception to this, considering it is the ultimate thing that is built by people and is only the power of people as long as you're willing to enforce it. Government has the long-standing tradition of using the power of the gun to enforce its laws at gunpoint, and this is going to be no exception. So a very, very pessimistic take on this is that, yes, are they forming a panel of industry professionals to guide their decision making? Yes, that's what they're saying out loud. In reality, it could just be all their friends and buddies willing to basically put up and say what they're saying. It is possible that you could get some good people on here to actually make good recommendations. However, you got to understand that when you're dealing with governments, you are playing the ultimate game of power and fighting over the one ring, so to speak, especially for governments that are willing to try to create that power and wield it. I think the UK government, I'm not a British citizen. I'm not an expert on British common law, but I will say this, that I don't think the UK has a great track record of upholding God-given or natural rights, specifically looking at how you can't have firearms, and they're even considering knife control now. So if that's where they're at on that stuff, what makes you think they're going to be any better on crypto?
Bro, I mean, okay, I agreed with you all until the knife control, bro. Do you know the knife crime statistics in the UK? It's kind of wild, man.
What do you mean by that? Like, are you saying it's corruptible, or are you saying that's a bad example?
No. I'm just saying. I think the reason why they're like cracking down on like the knife stuff is because the knife crime in UK is so out of control. I think that's the reason why they're kind of like cracking down on it.
They need more
my
guns
point of
so they
bringing
can control those knives.
I mean, Will is actually kind of right here, which is that my point is that they're not, specifically with a case like that, they're not trying to diagnose the underlying problem, which is that knives don't kill people. Knives cook delicious food, like I did yesterday night with some friends. You got to address the underlying issue. Instead, they're just trying to take the quick political victory, or making what it looks like is the visual win. And in this case, all right, we'll try to go down this route a little bit. So, we are Americans. We deal with American common law. Our law system was based off of English jurisprudence back in the 1300s, 1400s with the Magna Carta, where there was some sort of negotiation between monarchies and the subjects about you have certain rights that are not given by the crown, but are given by nature or God. One of those is the idea, John Locke around this time also was the guy that coined the phrase life, liberty, and property. This is not the one that the Americans adopted, which was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. However, John Locke around this time didn't discover, but highlighted that property ownership is absolutely important to have a society, because once you mix your willpower and your sweat and tears with the land, there's some sort of property that comes out of it. Now, are you going to be able to uphold that, especially in the 21st century, when we're venturing out and discovering the new horizons of cyberspace, the internet, whatever you want to call it? Is a digital 1 and 0 on a hard drive yours? Yes, you own those electrons that make that specific code.
Yes.
Now we're applying this to blockchain, which is that are you going to be able to have identifiable property rights for something that exists not just on hardware that you control, but this is data that is copied to other people's property to recognize and identify the specific private keys that you hold to the assets which lay on the blockchain. I can understand that an argument against this is that theoretically something can happen to the blockchain and therefore it's all gone magically, like, I don't know, the EMP or whatever. I would also argue that there are specific protections in place. Like, my understanding is that Bitcoin literally has satellites to help keep the network going, and it's physically possible to transmit Bitcoin via ham radio. So there are protections in place. However, the argument stands that this could theoretically be destroyed in a completely legal way. So therefore, do you actually have property, or did you just have private keys to some sort of encryption on a shared drive? That's where the argument's going to be.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but think about the UK and think about Europe in general. Think about how the laws have been set up to be put into place. It's been to stifle innovation, right? It's been to tear down what crypto is building. And, you know, this is one of the first times that we've seen a government, a large government, okay, take a step to say, hey, we don't want to stifle innovation. So we want to put smart regulations in place. And the article said it. They don't want to stifle innovation. They want to be a hub of emerging technologies, including and especially in the cryptocurrency space. So, yes, do I have to be a little bit weary anytime the government opens their damn mouth? Yes. Okay. I have to be a little bit weary. We always have to do our own research. So we always have to be a little bit, a little bit unsure when people speak. Okay. But this is the first time, one of the few times that someone is actually saying something that I can get on board with. Now, are they right? Are they going to do it? Is a whole nother story. But prior to this, they have said the exact opposite. Okay. They have been against crypto, against regulation, and actually for stifling technology. And so for them to at least be telling their people they want this to happen, I mean, I think is bullish. I think if it's done right, which is what we've always said, right? If it's done right, and that's yet to be seen. But if they are even somewhat true to their word, I think it could be awesome. But again, yes, Zenith, you have to be careful. You have to be worrisome anytime these people open their mouths. But again, it's the first time that I've seen them say something that I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. to be true
Brendan,
or not.
I think you're entirely right, which is that do we need to be skeptical? I would still argue yes. However, at the same time, we have to provide a system where lawmakers and governments are incentivized to make good decisions. What I mean is that when they do come out and say good things like this, you got to reward them. And you got to give them at least a little bit of a benefit of the doubt so that they can operate and keep making those good decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to give credit where credit is due. Last Sunday, we also went over something similar going on in Hong Kong. We mentioned that it was one of the few times where not only the regulatory bodies, but the companies and their constituents came together and said, look, we'd like to push this forward as soon as possible, right? That was going to happen sometime in April. So here's another example of that good happening. So that was actually a very good comment by Z. As much as we bag on Uncle Sam and government and how they're slow moving and how they mess up a whole bunch of a bunch of times when something like this happens, right? And they're trying to put their best foot forward and actually create regulation so that businesses can come in and not be in the dark about how to conduct themselves in your jurisdictions, then you have to reward that kind of behavior, right? Because then you incentivize that kind of behavior more so in the future. Will, did you have something, brother?
No, I'm responding to chats in the Telegram thing. You're good. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a quick joke about how I kind of killed me because as soon as you're like, oh, you got to reward them as soon as they do that. I'm like, yeah, because the government are little children. Yay. Good job. You get a pat on the head.
Well, just imagine that you're trying to incentivize the dopamine receptor of government.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I will say this, when I think people misuse the term game theory a lot, and they just think that trying to think things strategically is somehow game theory. However, this is actual game theory, which is you are analyzing the metagame of the interactions between the government and the individuals, which is that if the individuals keep providing negative feedback for everything the government does, they're just going to assume they only get negative feedback. So therefore, if there's nothing good about the feedback, they can probably just ignore it. As opposed to if you can create that incentive structure where they get good and bad feedback, that's how you can actually kind of start to effectuate their psychology and hopefully their behaviors as a result.
Yep. Absolutely.
Actually, you can see that's working out right now too in the gaming sector. Look at a Stellar Blade or whatever. Look what's happening there with that. And now all of a sudden yesterday, the new Tifa swimsuit came out and everything is blowing up right now. And money is going wild for these games. Meanwhile, all the games for the past like years at this point have just been dying. Kind of like the same thing with movies actually right now too. That's another sector where, you know, as soon as one thing goes right, like Godzilla 0-1. Yeah.
Yo, the Godzilla 0-1 was apparently very violent.
I haven't seen
0-1.
Sorry, -1.
It was
it's not
minus-
0-1. It's -1.
Yeah, exactly.
This
It's
is
the
like-
most recent Godzilla movie out of Japan, and apparently it was extremely violent.
Ooh,
It,
nice.
it
I
was
like
extremely
violence.
violent only because there was a lot of destruction in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. But it was a real, true Godzilla. Like if you go back to the way Godzilla originally was, you know, a guy in a suit walking around,
People in
trashing things.
costumes.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking
It's that
King
only.
Kong picking up a tree and brushing Godzilla's teeth with it. Oh my god, I love it.
Oh my god,
I'm gonna have to watch that.
those were the bad days. But yeah, no, it's
Good
I do
days.
highly recommend it. It is insane, especially for the budget that they had, which was 1/30th the amount of a normal blockbuster, and for it to look that good, and it's got the most insane nuclear breath I've ever seen. I do
Rated
highly recommend it.
PG-13. That's interesting.
All right, circling it back to crypto. Here's something that I found very entertaining and upsetting over the past week when I was looking through the news. Has something to do with the Golden Boy, Sam Bankman-Fried, and FTX. Let me go ahead and share this article with you because it seems like our boy Sam might be getting a much lighter sentence than everybody might have thought. So, article titled by the folks over at CoinDesk, Sam Bankman-Fried's sentence might be lighter than you'd expect. So, article goes on to say that former FTX boss Sam Bankman-Fried may be handed a lighter sentence than otherwise when he faces District Judge Lewis A. Kaplan next month because customers of the bankrupt exchange will probably be made whole thanks to a bounce in the cryptocurrency markets and the buoyancy of certain investments held by the estate. So, after Sam was found guilty of fraud in November 2023 and the FTX empire collapsed, over that span of time, the market has bounced over 130%, which means that a lot of the creditors, right, and the customers that had funds stuck in FTX when it collapsed potentially can now be made whole. However, the caveat is that if investors do receive all of their lost funds, they're going to receive the damn funds at 2022 prices, right? And I have a severe issue with that because not only have you denied these people the opportunity cost, right? Because their funds are stuck on the damn exchange when it collapsed. You also don't take into consideration the unseen costs of what these people had to go through when FTX collapsed, right? I'm going to be a little bit morbid here, but what if somebody had all of their savings in that exchange when it collapsed, right? And they've basically been out of those funds for the last 2 years, right? I think self-deletion might be something that maybe some of these people had to go through, right? Severe depression, emotional. I wish I had the damn soundbite of emotional damage, right? But these are the things that these regulators are not concerning when they are determining how to sentence Sam and this whole fiasco, right? The article goes on to say that I would expect the loss amount to be hotly contested during the sentencing, and it should be, right? But he said that it's not going to be a surprise if the defense argued for a lower loss amount or even a amount of 0 if all customers and creditors will be made whole. So, panel, give me your thoughts on this particular article. What do you think? Is this a fair way to treat Sam? And is this a fair way to treat the customers? Give me your thoughts on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna kind of read what I read there, or comment on what it is that I read. Right. Basically, they're happy that green candles are happening, so now they feel in a really good way. The one thing that stood out to me was that they are going to pay back people from that November low, right? Yep. So if you're thinking
your Bitcoin at November was worth 15,000 when it collapsed, you're going to get $15,000 worth of Bitcoin. And I say, no, give them 1 Bitcoin if that was what they were holding in the exchange.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think they're just overly happy about it. Bean, what you got?
Look, it's, I got screwed by Voyager a little bit when that debacle happened. So I kind of am one of those people that was a creditor that got pennies on the dollar back at money that was worth a lot less when I got the money back than what it would have been had I had my coins, right? And so, yeah, I think it's BS to say, look, they're made whole, when first they're certainly not made whole, right? Yep. It's just clear that they're not. Now, I will say we have to put a caveat in here that I don't know if it's actually going to be interpreted from a law standpoint that way, because most of the time when creditors are given their money back, it's prior to the offense happening. It's prior to the person getting his arrest. So if, in my opinion, if the law is interpreted the right way, they can't take that into consideration because he was already arrested far before creditors were made whole, and he had nothing to do with it, right? So let's hold.
Yeah.
However, he gave a lot of money to a lot of politicians, and he has some very powerful friends. So I'm not going to say that this is going to go the way that I hope that it goes, nor the way that I think that it should go. But let's just take it back a step. Should creditors get the coins that they had or the dollar value? Should creditors get the coins today or the dollar value of what those coins would be worth today, right? These are very big different things. And this is kind of where like maybe regulation needs to come into play and say, hey, these aren't dollars, okay? This isn't an asset about 2 years ago that you can say, okay, this is 50,000, now it's 51,000 or 49,000. No, these are highly volatile assets that change in large swings, and you can't just take a dollar value amount and attribute it to it. So I think that's one of the things within crypto that needs better regulation in how these companies get prosecuted and how creditors are made whole. I think that's something that really needs to be looked at and kind of potentially regulated slightly differently than other parts of the market.
I'm going to back Brendan up on. I'm going to back up one of the points that Brendan made on this one using two of the quotes from the article. If you go up to the very top, the third bullet point there says, quote, restitution paid to victims is a factor when it comes to sentencing, but only when return took place before the offense was detected. That is the first thing that Brendan was referencing here. And in this case, this is happening much after the offense was detected, considering that theoretically the offense was detected at the very first time that SBF started using customer funds in illegal ways. So this is not that. The other second quote I'm going to use here is, quote, the U.S. sentencing guidelines that give defendants credit for amounts returned to victims apply only when the return took place before the offense was detected. In this case, it's clearly not SBF who is giving the money back, and the payments come well after the discovery of the crime. So additionally, is it not just late, but it's unclear which actual entity is paying these people back. When it comes to the law and specifically sentencing, there's two things you have to take into consideration. The first is not into consideration, but the goal. The first is restitution, and the other is deterrent of other people from committing crimes. When it comes to restitution, that means we need to make people whole again. When it comes to this, it's very unclear as to whether are you giving them the exact quantity of Bitcoin or other coins they had. Are you giving them the dollar amount? But then that also gets muddied with dollar amount now, back then, at which point, high, low. If you're not familiar with this space, you're not going to understand truly how volatile crypto is and the opportunity cost that comes from not just the gains or losses that could have been made in that time, but the opportunity cost that compounds that with other losses and gains. So there's a lot going on here. And the other thing is that even if SBF paid back every single person and then some, it doesn't change the fact that the criminal action was committed. Therefore, the criminal justice system needs to deter other people from doing such, just even though everyone got made more money allegedly. There has to be some sort of retribution when it comes to this. Physical money was paid out to certain people. Yes, that is undeniable, and that will absolutely come to account when it comes to arguing against a severe punishment. However, the crux of the matter is this still happened. Some people did, unfortunately, off themselves, which is terrible, and it's SBF's fault. That still lies with him, and there has to be a price to be paid.
Yep, absolutely. Right, the opportunity cost and the unseen cost. Will, go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, Zenith, you took the words right out of my mouth. But you said it much more eloquently. I was just going to say SBF
I
bad.
Probably just took up more time, brother.
SBF bad, make them suffer. And so here's the thing. You have to punish people and you have to make people whole. That's the bottom line up front. And doing one, those both need to happen. Doing one does not make up for the other. You know, if I steal something from someone and I give it back, I've still stolen something. So I still need to receive some. Now, if you steal something and don't give it back, then it's ooh, double punishment. But if I steal something and give it back, it's okay, only one punishment, you know.
But he stole it and didn't give it back. Somebody else gave it back for him.
Exactly.
See, now, how does that work, you know?
Yes.
One of the things that they talk about,
yes.
One of the things that they ended up talking about too is that the low loss versus high loss, right? And that's going to be determined in what actual sentencing he gets.
The sentencing,
if it's if it's low loss, he's looking at maybe 2 to 3 years, somewhere in there. But if it's high loss, he's looking 20 to life.
Yep.
Yeah, and so they should determine the amount of loss by how much by the valuation of the tokens lost as they are today, because they are significantly worth a lot more. And we're not just talking about Bitcoin. People had altcoins of that damn exchange, man. So
what about FTX? How much FTX was worth back then?
Yeah, exactly.
Just
so,
Just to finish the thought, Will, please correct me if I'm speaking for you improperly on this one. But the reason that you and I are talking about how SBF must be punished is not out of spite or hatred. It's the famous word that everyone likes to use and think that they use correctly, which is accountability. This is what actual accountability is, not just for the purpose of upholding justice, which is that you did a wrong, therefore you will experience something similar, but it's keeping the standard and holding the standard across the board. It's the reason that Lady Justice is blind. It's that it doesn't matter who she's looking at. The weight on the scale is always the same.
Same. Precisely. And we were talking about earlier how you reinforce good behavior by rewarding good behavior. You have to punish bad behavior because look, nobody follows the rules, nobody follows the laws unless there are consequences, severe consequences for breaking them. So yes, absolutely agreed with you 100%. The last thing I'm going to say about this article is I found it really funny. One of the first things that they led with during the article, I have the quote here, right? So it says, judges in Southern District of New York passed lower sentences for white-collar crimes. That's not how they treated Donald Trump, man. If you guys have been following what's going on over in New York City and how they treated Donald Trump for a crime allegedly that every single entrepreneur commits, and nobody was actually harmed during said crime, and they fined him over $350 million, I believe. So yeah, I don't think that's accurate, my friends, because that was supposedly a white collar crime, and they did not take it easy on Mr. Former President there. So.
Yeah, reading this article and then also following what's going on with the Trump lawsuits, especially the one in New York, it's very hard to take the New York courts seriously or trust that they're going to have good judgments at this point, because there's a lot of stuff going on that is honestly just blatantly against due process and due regard for the law.
Yep, absolutely.
Corruption in the government. Say it ain't so.
Yeah.
Dean Martin would be very upset to hear this.
Yeah. The thing is, that actually transitions really well over to our next article. So if it didn't upset you that somebody like Sam might be getting a lighter sentence, well, this might potentially get a rile out of you. So this one is about our friends over at Tornado Cash, and well, let me just share you the article so you could see it. So this one is over by our friends at Cointelegraph, and it's titled GoFundMe Shuts Down Tornado Cash Legal Defense Crowdfunding. So the article goes on to say that the crowdfunding for the Tornado Cash legal battle was canceled by GoFundMe, citing breach of terms of service. All contributions made to the fundraiser were returned to their respective donors. So the article mentions here that the creators of Tornado Cash, right? This is Roman Storm and the developer Alexei Pertsev, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I apologize. They started a GoFundMe on Tornado Cash because they are going through a extended legal battle with the United States government, and their legal fees are probably going to rack up several $1 million worth. And so they went on to the crowdfunding website, GoFundMe, in hopes to get some help from the community. However, the Tornado Cash people, let me see if I can find the here we go. So this is the article specified within the GoFundMe's terms of service, right? Any other activity that GoFundMe may deem in its sole discretion to A, be unacceptable or objectionable, B, restrict or inhibit any other person from using or enjoying the services, or C, expose GoFundMe and its employers or users to any harm or liability of any type. And so they took this last part here, Article C of, or Part C of Article 22 in their terms and services, and they said because this might expose GoFundMe and its employees or users to any harm or liability, we are going to cancel your crowdfunding attempts and send the funds back to the people. So why did I say this particular article might upset you folks, right? Because you have somebody like Sam who rugged hundreds of millions of people of billions and billions of dollars. And now the defense might argue that he should get a lighter sentence. And then you have people like, let me get their names again because I completely blanked on it. Yeah, people like Roman and Alexei, who harmed nobody. They created the software that was completely within the spirit of crypto, right? Privacy.
Yep.
And they get prosecuted by the federal government. They obviously don't have the money to go through an extended legal battle, so they're asking for help from the community. But GoFundMe says, sorry guys, we're not really going to give you a reason, but we're going to cancel your fundraising. Panel,
Man.
give me your thoughts on this, man. Will, did we get another reaction from you, bro? Come on, man. Give us something.
If only there was a system of payment that could be used to collect funds that doesn't have these like centralized processes and problems and things. Ah, fiddlesticks. You know what really sucks about this is like that my immediate reaction when I first heard that GoFundMe returned all the cash to all the people that sent it in. My immediate thought was like, oh, I bet they returned all the cash and they wrote down the names of everyone who sent the cash in, for, just some collection purposes. Perhaps these people have trouble flying on airplanes later. Perhaps their bank accounts get declined, yada, yada. Like I'm just, my little fucking tinfoil hat brain is cooking. I don't know if I'm out of tinfoil. I might have some tinfoil. I do have some tinfoil. Sweet. So like, that's just my little fucking, some theories that I'm having here about some things that might be going on. But I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Just to give a little more context to the situation. So these two gentlemen were charged with 3 crimes back in August of 2023 with a bail set of $2 million. The charges include conspiracy to commit money laundering, conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business, and conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. In case you're unfamiliar with that last one, it's pretty much an act that was used previously around the 9/11 times to try to stop assets of terrorists. However, it has also, like many tools at the government's disposal, been expanded to try to stop a lot more other things. Most notably, the recent thing of note was the Trump administration tried to use this as the basis to stop TikTok and WeChat from being provided on the U.S. app stores. However, that decision was I'm not going to say fortunately or unfortunately, that decision was struck down by the courts on First Amendment concerns, as well as they say that they violated the act's informational material exceptions. So again, this looks like some interesting charges. This is pretty much what you would guess would be applied to anybody just in the crypto space in general. So if you ask me personally, the reason that these gentlemen were charged is because they were creating something that was contrary to the banking cartel already in existence and power, and GoFundMe is potentially just trying to cover their own ass and not try to strike a fight with the crown and show that they are not willing to help these gentlemen in their legal pursuits.
Yeah. Oh, hey, what did I say at the beginning?
Go ahead.
Of this, what did I say at the beginning of the stream? Right? They really don't like something called privacy. The governments of the world really want to know what you're doing with your money, what you're doing with your time, what you're doing with your energy, and they want to try and control that in some sort of way. So what does Tornado Cash do? It provides you some privacy.
Yeah.
If the governments were really truly smart, they would like something like Tornado Cash, because that means that then they can get on the blockchain and start doing what they're doing. I think it's kind of weird that they don't understand this. Like you could just see how stupid they are on the whole subject of crypto in general. Because the thing that will technically help them on crypto, because they're going to be forced to get on crypto anyways on the blockchain, right? The thing that's going to help them with their greatest fear, being able to see everything that they're doing, they're fighting it now. They're breaking other people from being able to do it, and they're like, "Oh, this is a threat to us." No, it's not. It's your best friend, you idiots.
Well, here's the thing.
Back at you. The other contrary point to this could be that they do understand what's going on, and the reason that they don't like this is because it gives the everyday average American the ability to do what they do with the traditional finance system.
They want their own
That means
system.
that this is the ability to operate privately on the public blockchain, which is something that has been exclusive to people like the people in the first story that we covered, which is that when you screw up the bank security deposit box, you're the only one privy to that information. Therefore, you can try to get away with it. In this case, this expands that power to a lot of people, which is you now have the ability to transmit your money privately any way you see fit. That is not just a potential threat to so to say, the powers that be that control the American dollar, but also all the players in the current financial institution.
Yep.
100%.
Z beat me
Yeah,
to it,
agree with
man.
that.
That's exactly what it is. Even without tornado cash, the government knows how to do it. They've been doing it since time immemorial. They just don't want to extend that same right to their constituents. So, well said there. Well said there, Z. Will, did you have something, brother?
Yeah, I was just gonna say ZKZX. Now, I'm not shouting him out or endorsing him or anything, but ZKZX exists on Pulse Chain, and it is essentially a fork of Tornado Cash. I'm not saying you guys should buy it. I'm not saying you guys should not buy it. I'm saying that it exists on Pulse Chain. You can do with the information what you will.
Here's the thing, right? Z outlined some very, very serious allegations there by the U.S. government. I wonder if they can actually name any victims, right? Because I can tell you right now, I know a few victims from what happened with FTX. I mean, one of them sitting right here in the panel right below me. So yeah, it's I just found it curious, man, because it
I'll put
seems
it
like
this way.
they're prosecuting these two men of crimes that don't have any victims.
Yeah, I'm trying to do good work over here. At the same time, I'm not trying to win a CIA journalism award as well. So don't commit crimes, folks.
Yeah, the one interesting thing about Tornado Cash in general, right, is everybody keeps wanting to say crypto is just used for thugs, terrorists, crooks,
Crimes.
right? Yeah, that's what they keep saying. And every time somebody from actual police, someone that actually follows digital crimes, someone that follows terrorism, what do they say when they say, "Hey, are people using crypto for criminal use?" And most of the time, they're saying, "Not really, because we can see where it is and what happened to it." So, like, does Tornado Cash hurt that? I mean, I know that they've actually found money from crooks that went through Tornado Cash, sure, and they were able to recover some of it. So I guess that they can still recover it. I don't know, but nonetheless, like, crypto isn't this big area where a lot of criminals are using it. So why is that their problem? I don't. Like you guys are saying, their problem is that they don't have control and people are doing things that they think are shady because they can't see them. And again, we can't see anything that anyone else is doing, but we just have to take it as gospel. So I think it's an interesting case. I'm really interested to see how it plays out because, somebody like Tornado Cash, I don't know how they marketed. I don't know, who they've talked to, but if they don't know who their customers are, as most cryptocurrencies didn't for a long time, then how are they at fault? Like, they just built code that could be free speech, as Richard Hart says, and they allowed people to use it. But it's gonna be really interesting, and it could set a lot of precedents. And it'll be interesting if somebody like Richard Hart gets off, and other people, which we think he will, other people get off on these cases. How do you then go prosecute somebody like Tornado Cash when, again, they just built code?
So, what's the movie that has like the crystal in people's hands and they like try to arrest people for like future crimes?
Yeah.
Is that,
I know that
Minority Report?
with Tom Cruise.
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Minority
There it
Report.
is. Yep.
I'm not going to come out and outright say that, but when we go back and look at the charges that this guy's facing, the creator of Tornado Cash, it's like Brendan was saying, is like, these are all conspiracy to do something. It's not you're actually doing the money laundering. They just don't like that you're building the tools, and they are trying to charge this guy with, you are making something that someone at some point in the future could use for crimes. It's like, okay. I mean, based on the stats that I've seen, the ones that I've been keeping up with, my understanding is that cryptocurrency accounts for less than 5% of all illicit activities out there. Far and away, the king of crime is still the American dollar. So,
yes, sir.
Like, just cold hard cash is the preferred financial vehicle for crime at this point. So
Zenith,
the narrative.
How dare you talk about the U.S. dollar that way?
I know. I
talk about the U.S. dollar in such a bad way.
I know I mentioned I'm not trying to win the CIA journalism award, but I keep doubling down and just trying to get on that list. So I better stop at some point.
Zenith, the reason why is because originally when Bitcoin was made, it was the Silk Road, and people were buying like drugs and stuff. But then again, what was it last week? Last Whiskey Wednesday. Like we keep beating a dead horse over here, but as soon as criminals went to do that, they're like, "Oh wait, the blockchain. We can see everything you're doing." And crypto people went and hunted these guys down, and then told the authorities about it. And these criminals found out very quickly. Yeah, you don't do that when you can see everything.
Well, you know what? To end this particular article on a lighter note, Will alluded to this earlier, but there's a specific quote from one of the supporters in that article. Right, this is from Ryan Adams and Bankless. So I know not everybody's a fan of the Bankless guys. They're going to take a big L once Richard Hart wins this lawsuit. But here's something that he actually said that was good. He says, "Good thing we have an uncensorable money system, so we can still fund civil liberties like the right to a fair trial." Right, so. Like Will said, it's fantastic that we have crypto, because even though GoFundMe canceled their fundraising attempts, people could still send them money through crypto. And in fact, so their goal was to raise, I believe it was $1.5 million as a start to fund their legal case, right? So once GoFundMe shut down their account, they transitioned over to another fundraising platform. It's called Juicebox, and Juicebox is specifically a crypto fundraising platform, right? And as of today, they have raised over 316 3/4 of Ethereum, which let's do the quick math. Let's just call it a flat 317 Ethereum times $3,101. Let's see, 316 times 3,101. is $979,916. So
Jay, you're Asian. We know you didn't take out a calculator. You just
I got to hey, I'm half. I'm half. The other half with the math acumen was not granted to me, unfortunately.
Dang it.
But yeah, man. So they've almost raised $1 million after GoFundMe canceled their account. So kudos to the people who donated. Kudos to the space, right? Because everybody who donated to their fight is basically fighting for the right to privacy, right? So yeah, there's another point in the hat when it comes to the value proposition of Bitcoin, right? When somebody cancels your ability to transact, well, guess what? We have a way. We don't need your banks. We don't need GoFundMe. We got a way to do it ourselves, right? And that's using crypto. That's using the blockchain. So, wanted to end that on a good note. Before we transition over to our next article here, we have a few more folks rolling in the last minute here. Dre Sims, always nice to see you, brother. Vic Bish, good to see you as well. And Willie B. Long, hey, my friend, as always, very good to see one of the most degenerate members of this community. If you are going to trade meme coins, you might as well degen responsibly, and Billy certainly does that very well, along with a few other members of our community. So the final article that we are going to be going over today is this one was brought to our attention by our very own Zenith. This one is, let me share my screen with you folks here. So, title of the article, this one's over by our friends at Coin Telegraph. Texas Blockchain Council and Riot secure win against U.S. energy officials. Article goes on to say that the Texas Blockchain Council, TBC, and Bitcoin mining firm Riot Platforms have won a favorable ruling from a United States district judge in a lawsuit against several U.S. energy officials. On February 22nd, Cointelegraph reported that the TBC and Riot alleged the U.S. Department of Energy, Energy Information Administration, the Office of Management and Budget, and their respective leaderships sought invasive data collection from the cryptocurrency miners. So Z, since you are the one who brought over this article to our attention, what was it specifically that caught your interest, right? I know that, yes, this particular company winning this case against their state that no, you cannot have our information regarding to our mining activities is obviously a good thing, but please give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so the reason that I included this article is because I'm trying to show that I'm not entirely just the black-pilled doomer when it comes to everything government and courts related. This is an excellent win for the cryptocurrency space legally. This is not an outright win. This is merely a judge ruling for a restricting order because he believes that they are likely to win on the merits of their case moving forward. To give a brief rundown of what's happening here is that the Department of Energy effectively created a mandate for Bitcoin miners to fill out a survey regarding their energy usage information. There's a lot of private companies out there that also have private contracts with other people to do Bitcoin mining on behalf of others. A survey like this would take a long time to comply with. I think one of the quoted things here was it took over 40 hours to comply with the survey if they wanted to. But additionally, this exposes them to leaking private and confidential information inside their contracts and agreements. So specifically, the miners have filed back to say that, no, this is an outreach of government and you are not, this is A, not your information to have, and B, using the force of government and the government gun to get this information is unconstitutional and just a pure outreach of government force. The court is seeing that they are likely to win on these arguments, so they've granted the restraining order saying that, no, you don't have to comply with the survey if you don't want to, because he believes that they're likely to win in the upcoming ruling. I want to say that this temporary restraining order is only valid through the end of March, but at that point, the court case should be adjudicated. The reason that I have this article in here is because this shows that there is legal precedence, A, to push back against governmental outreach in the cryptocurrency space, and that there are people that are fighting the good fight for cryptocurrency as an asset class and monetary transaction freedom. So there's good things out there in the space, and we, again, got to praise people and support them when they're doing good work.
Yeah. This reminds me of...
screw those guys, by the way.
Yeah, this reminded me of how if you're working in the medical industry, for example, right, and you reveal that kind of very sensitive patient confidential information, you are going to land yourself in hot water. No company can come in there, and unless they have a subpoena, right, to extract those files, they can't just go in there and ask you to do a survey revealing customer information. This particular article that Z gave us reminds me of something along those lines, right? So it seems like the lawmakers over there in Texas are treating this particular case the same way that you would treat private medical information that belongs to its customers, right? So I think that's definitely a win for crypto, and certainly reward them and tell them, hey, this is the kind of behavior that we like to see from you guys. Whoever is asking for the survey, their internet service providers, cannot ask them for this information, right? Because it will reveal sensitive information about the clients that we work with.
Most definitely.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Are there any other industries that they're requiring to give their energy information? Like, it seems like an attack on one sector. I'm sure they're not the only sector that potentially uses high energy. And in fact, we know Bitcoin has actually turned the corner and started to use a lot of green energy. And in fact, in some cases, actually produces energy back to the grid with their mining system. So, it took a while. And I think early on, that was it. They did probably use a lot of energy. And I'm not saying it matters or not, right? Every industry uses whatever it uses. But we know, like, look at Elon, right? He said, we're not going to allow cryptocurrency until they until they can prove that they're X efficient, right? We're using green energy, etc. I forget exactly what his words were. And is Tesla taking Bitcoin payments again? I believe they are, or I believe they were. Can someone confirm that? But I know they at least got to the threshold that Elon had talked about. So it seems like a witch hunt a little bit to me, and I'm just curious if they're doing this for any other industries, because it seems a little bit unfair to me.
Well, I'll tell you this, right? So there's a lot of manufacturing companies that are under the ESG thingamabob. I don't know. I think that's an important thing, right? But there is a lot of manufacturing companies that are under that, like, where they have to, like, reveal everything to government bodies, right? So I don't want to say this is just kind of like a one-off, right, where they're targeting, but it does seem like a small sector versus the giants of manufacturing. So yeah, it's a little bit of like, why are they coming down so hard on the small guy, right? Well, maybe there's something to be said there,
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
I think Brendan, you have. Sorry, I'll finish this real quick and let you go, Jay. Brendan, this is a very good point. This does seem like a witch hunt, and it absolutely fits the narrative, which is that people have been saying that Bitcoin is so bad for the environment, something must be done about it. Fortunately, Bitcoin is one of those self-correcting problems where it is absolutely economically incentivized to be better. A, so that you get more profitability from mining your blocks, and also that you can compete against other miners. Additional regulation is not necessarily required in this space, especially considering that if you do start to regulate these people or impose, I don't know, a tax, which is a very popular thing governments do, is you're eventually just going to chase away industry to other areas where there's cheaper electricity, like Africa.
Well, I want to point out though too, think about it this way, right? What is it that we're constantly talking about in crypto? How the technology is advancing, right? And how it's just better overall. And then for whatever weird reason, the governments want to try and slow it down. Okay. So how well does government usually work? Not very well. It's very slow, very inefficient. Okay. So when you're looking at it,
That's why they want to slow it down, Nate. That's why they want to slow it down, because they want to be able to keep up pace with it.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you're looking at it, right, the governments at this point are like, we have to force ESG. Okay. Well, with Bitcoin, you don't even need to force it. It's encouraged. It's incentivized to do so. So now you have a new technology bringing in new green energy for the world, and it's doing it by itself because it wants to do that. It's incentivized to do so. So overall, this is an absolute win, whereas the governments are like, oh no, you're still no, you're moving too fast. Stop, please.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, those kind of entities are just so used with getting away with that kind of overreach. For example, your internet service provider accumulates all of your data and sells it to anybody and everybody who's willing to put up the money, right? And so they approach this particular company and says, hey, man, we'd like to survey you on your energy consumption, right? Because they've been able to get away with that kind of behavior for so long. Right. And I think this is one of the few times where they're like, nah, man, you're not welcome to this kind of information, right? Because it's going to reveal sensitive topics about the clients that we work with. Right. And so I don't necessarily think that this was them trying to be malicious. It's just that they've been able to get away with this kind of behavior for such a long time. They're not just used to getting a slap on the face and say, nah, man, you're not allowed access to this info. So.
Yeah, it could be sort of an ideology thing. What I mean by that is that if you are the government and you are a hammer, you're always in search of a nail, whether or not you should be looking for nails or you have the ability or authority to hit those nails. This is one of the cases where the people are pushing back and say, no, the role of government should and will be limited. We're going to enforce it. And it seems like the courts are agreeing with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And this actually reminded me of, how there's some software out there in the space, right? And they have to deal with something called decentralized file storage. I think everybody's familiar with Filecoin. Reading an article like this really elucidated how useful the value proposition of something like Filecoin is, right? Because here is a piece of software, right, that you could use where you could store your files, and your internet service provider doesn't have access to it, right? They can't see it and they can't sell it. All of that belongs to you, right? Apple can't back it up on their cloud and expose it to an attack surface for being hacked, like they did a few years ago, right? And so articles like this really, even though something like Filecoin might not be so hot, right? Like the value proposition is not really so popular. It's not really something that you see that's going to make like 1,000, 10,000 X's. But hey, maybe eventually people see more stuff like this happening around the space. They start to realize that, oh, the value proposition of something like decentralized file storage, or they call it defile, could really take off, right? Once again, they realize the value of their privacy and of owning their own data, so that people can't just take it and sell it to somebody else. So, all right. With that being said, we are at the 2-hour mark. So I know we had a lot of stuff to cover today, but as always, glad that you could spend some of that time here with us. Brendan, can you tell us where people can find you, what you have planned in the next few days?
Yes, you can find me on Hex at anonymous_bean. And I would love for you to follow me there. Riding a bit high after the retreat this weekend, but also ready to hop back into the crypto space, which I've been doing today, which is great. And I'm excited to say that we are going to be reintroducing a great topic and a great show. So our third show, we did potential. Will this cycle become a perfect storm? Could it become a rocket ship to the moon in a way that we have never seen a crypto cycle before? And we are going to revisit this topic and see if the things that we said are starting to fall into place. Are we going to start to see a rocket ship here in the near future? Or are things starting to dissipate from the perfect storm theory, from the extended bull market potential? So really want people to tune in next week. It's going to be a fantastic show. And just a little primer, might be a little hopium. So it's going to be fun. Super happy to be back. And yeah, buy those dips, baby. Not financial advice.
Z, where can people find you, brother? Tell us what you got in store next. What is the next book plan for book club?
I'm glad you asked. I'm excited for the next book club because I actually get to sit in the co-host seat. We're going to be covering $100 million offers by Alex Ramosi this Friday. And we are going to be having this guy host it. We are starting to ramp up book club this year. We were doing every other week, and Will has decided that I read too slow for his taste. So we're going to be doing a book every week. With that being said, not only do we have $100 million offers in the works, we did just cover Think and Grow Rich. It was a very, very highly rated book by the panel that was on there. And additionally, we have Outliers as a recommendation by RG3 as a book for the future. And he let us know that he would be more than happy to come on and talk about it at some point. So that is what's in the store for the future for us. As far as me, you can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Hex Space Force or Hexaco Space Force for all the memes, education, and tinfoil hat videos. And if you want to reach out to me personally, I am Zenith DI on Instagram and Twitter. Will, where can the people find you, my lovely book club co-host?
All right, so you guys can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. All of my relevant links are in there. I'm going to go ahead and put that up in the chat right now. You can also find all of the links for how to get in touch with me down below in the description. And one thing I want to cover as well, I don't know if Jay, you were planning on covering this at all, but next week, or actually, shoot, this coming Wednesday, we're going to be interviewing Gary Woods from Gary Woods, that's Funding Gym. So he's going to be on our channel. So make sure you guys come on over and stick around for that. As far as what I'm doing, nothing crazy. Just looking forward to hosting this this book club coming up here on Friday. But yeah, you guys can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. Also, I run a Telegram, which is right here. It is the t.me/hex_meetup. It's essentially just a Telegram room for Hexicans to meet other Hexicans. I'm currently in Dallas right now. Is where I'm chilling for at least the time being. And so if I feel like I'm getting frisky or froggy or anywhere, I'll post up in there things that I'm doing, and I'll post up in other places as well, some low key meetups or whatever that's got going on. Or if you're a Hexican, you want to meet other Hexicans, just go in the little chat and post up the cool things that you're doing. I was expecting nobody to show up to the last one I did. I was like, hey guys, I'm going to the bar. And then like 5 people showed up, dude. There's people who drove from like 3 hours away just to hang out at a bar with us for like 2 hours. And it was a good ass.
Dope.
So it's super cool. So if you guys want to meet other Hexicans, just hop on into this little channel and just broadcast out what you're doing. And maybe people show up, maybe they won't. But if you're gonna go to the bar and hang out and do nothing anyways, you might as well drop a fish into the line, or not drop a fish, drop a line into the stream, see if you can catch any other fish or whatever the hell. But that's what's going on with me. Mr. Nate McGettit, what's going on with you, bro? Where can the people find you?
Hey, you can find me at the Ascending Man YouTube. It's my own channel where I talk about very many interesting things, kind of just what's on my mind at the time for the most part. And yeah, so you can always go ahead and go find me there. You've already got my link tree in there. I was gonna drop it myself, but Link Sky. That's what this man over here is. So yeah, you can go ahead and find me at my link tree right there. All of my socials and everything. I did happen to start up a brand new Twitter. And then it didn't necessarily get suspended, but it got like frozen. And I don't know why. So I think maybe it's my IP. It's a very strange thing going on there. So we're going to have a look at that. But yep. Also, I am helping out people who are, I do have consultations. I'm helping out people who, for the most part, like as we're heading into or ramping up into this bull, a lot of people are kind of worried about, you know, the levels of where their portfolio is at and all that. So I can definitely help you out with that. Go ahead, hit me up again, that link tree. But yeah, other than that, I'm just keeping on. And we are going to rock this bull market, guys. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
And on that note, as always, we thank everybody here, whether you're joining us live or you're going to be joining us in the replay. We thank you for spending some time with us this wonderful Sunday evening. We know that time is your most valuable asset, so we do appreciate that you spend some of that time here with us on the DGen Roundtable. As always, you can find me at _P90Hex on X and at agent_J Schroth on Instagram. Like the guys mentioned, we have Gary Woods, not the actor, but Funding Jim, joining us this Whiskey Wednesday, and we got a $100 million offer by Alex Hormozy this Friday on Book Club, which should be wonderful because Alex Hormozy is one hell of a fucking salesman. So look forward to that as well. If
Real
you guys,
quick, Jay, it's not Whiskey Wednesday. It's the actual guest spot.
Okay, gotcha. So that's gonna be the special guest for Gary. But yeah, so if you guys missed my TA, you know, I didn't want to do too much TA today because we had a lot of stuff to cover. I will probably be going on stream tomorrow, but that'll be isolated to the folks over in our Telegram channel. I will be going over Bitcoin, going over Ethereum, the potential for the latter half of this 60-day cycle, because if you have been keeping up with the charts, it seems like the rocket is taking off, especially when it comes to Ethereum and some of the altcoins. So if you would like to get that alpha, make sure to scan that little QR code right below our very handsome Z and join the Telegram. It's free for now, and it's filled with a bunch of guys and gals who are more than willing and able to share their wisdom and knowledge with you. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, you're an intermediate, or an expert. They will accommodate you of any level there. So go ahead, scan a QR code, join our Telegram. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, we will see you then. Take care.